So unpack that franchising. Like, why would somebody or should somebody choose the franchising route or not choose that franchising route? Going back to that first rule of, should I be in the franchising world or not?
A lot of people try to dip their toe in it. They're like, well, I've got a job. I'm just going to open a franchise and then I'm going to go that way. And I think that's challenging. If you're going to go into franchising, you are an operator. No matter what the brand is, you are going to become an operator. Unless you're somebody who's going to go and buy a large multi-unit platform that's already there, then you're really buying a business that's sort of established and you can step in more of a corporate type role. Otherwise, when you're opening new units or buying a single unit, you've got to be committed to it. It is your child. And all these brands that come out and say it's absentee ownership, it might be absentee ownership once you really learn the business and you can train people how to do it. But the only way for you to be able to do that is you need to be in it on a day-to-day basis and run it and live it yourself to understand the business model and what it takes to make it successful. So, you can't dip your toe into it. So if you're going to do it, you've got to commit to it, because it's going to be time and money and family that's really going to be a big part of it. And that's any business in America, right? In this country, you're not going to get into something as a part-time job unless it's, owning an ATM machine and, just set someplace. But if you're doing this thing and you want to make a living, you've got to be real about that. And you got to realize the commitment that's involved with it. And then whether it's franchising or not, you got to realize like franchising comes with a lot of costs, and you've got to be ready to be able to deal with those things, which is another reason why you need to be in the day-to-day operations to understand those costs that you have from franchising versus not franchising. If you can buy an open business, you get that startup from the person who had built the business before, then you're stepping in. You need that education. So you need to understand what all the costs are coming from when you open the franchise and what they're charging you for.
So I was talking with a brand yesterday or the day before, and I talk to brands seems like every day, new brands every day, at least several times a week, a new brand that I get introduced to or reaches out to me. And I was talking to a brand yesterday, and it's very semi-absentee. Their franchisee avatar is somebody that has a day job, and they prefer them to keep their day job because they can slowly ramp up that business. And so that's their model, and that's what they like. And because that's what the founder did. The founders traveled all over, still travels all over, and they've got this really great lifestyle business, and they turned it into a franchise. And they've got franchisees that are doing it as a lifestyle business. My question was, who is your best franchisee? Your most successful franchisee? And they said, oh, he's a full-time franchisee. He lost his job a couple months after starting, and so he's full-time into it, and he's doing great. I'm like, don't you want more people like him? So even if a brand is semi-absentee, very semi-absentee, or pretty passive, does not mean like that's the best model for that. You got the operator in there now that took the risk. He lost his job, had to go all in, and is doing well with it. So I think that's one of my takeaways too, Joe, over the years is I've lost money in franchise. I've lost, multiple six figures, easily like multiple high six figures by just being in the wrong brand. Or that's my perspective. Or if I look internally, I made mistakes by getting into this brand, and there are things that I'm doing differently today because of that. And the brands that I'm involved with today, as a franchisee, I am passive. I'm a passive owner because there is an active operator who is an owner in that business. And that's the only way I'll do that moving forward. So my big lesson is, even if it's semi-absentee, I need to have a partner who is an active owner in that business. And it's very clear that they are the owner-operator of that business, and I'm all passive. I am the investor. So that's the way that I've seen it work for me. Not saying that's the only way that it will always work for everybody, but some of my lessons, losing multiple high six figures, if I had that frame of mind going into it 20 years ago, I would have probably had a couple extra $1 million in the bank account.
I agree. I mean, we both seen the good and bad of franchising. And I think what's important, and you might be hitting on something here, but if you're going to be an investor, you need to have somebody who is really bought in and is a true operator. I mean, like look at one brand that everyone talks about, like it's incredibly successful, Chick-fil-A, right? I mean, we said we're not going to talk about a lot of specific brands, but I think this is okay because it's outside of our realm. But Chick-fil-A is an interesting model because they are of the belief that you have to be an operator. And they very rarely, from what I understand, give more than one license to a person. You are basically buying a job with that brand, and that is their model. You know you are going to be operating 6 days a week, and you've got to be there, and you're going to make good money if you follow their model. And it's very little, it doesn't cost much to buy in, but their whole thing is Chick-fil-A is really the investor, and they've got the model and the processes, and you're a pure operator of that single location. And that's the way it's really, someone's got to be in there and operating. You can be an investor in franchising, but you've got to have somebody that is there operating these things.
Thanks for listening to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Links to everything can be found over at franchisesecrets.com. And if you want my help with anything from starting your own franchise to growing your current franchise business, please visit scalablefranchise.com.